Come on in, welcome to my home. Today we are going to cover the 5 recipes that I still make. Now, to be fair, I still make a ton of the recipes that I have shown over the years on this channel. However, these are the 5 recipes that I make the most often. Because, I mean, while I still do make Mom's sugar cookie recipe, I don't make it that often. Usually just at Christmas time, and of course, who doesn't love a great turkey? And once again, Thanksgiving, Christmas time, those are the times I pull out those recipes. But these are recipes that I usually have on hand all the time, ready to go, because they're the recipes I really like. And so, they're really cool, they're really easy, but these are the things that I still make all the time. So let's get started. One of the recipes that I really still make all the time are my dog jerky recipes. Those are one of the greatest things. My dog loves them, and I mean she absolutely loves them. Now, as I've found over the years that, yeah, have I added other things to the recipe, taken things away? Not really. I mean, it just depends what I have on hand and what's available. But it's one of those things where using the dehydrator to make these dog jerky treats just is so easy. I feel really good feeding her these treats because, one, I know what's in them. I know how they're prepared. I know just about everything about the recipe, everything about these treats. But she loves them. She is like at them all the time. So that makes me happy that she can use them. And it makes me happy to know that I made it myself. It's not really hard to do. It just takes some time. It is really worth checking out the recipes. Now, I do not make the other treats that I did make for her once or twice. I used to make them quite more often, but they had more flour and grains in them. Well, this one still has some grains in them, but they had more flour in it, and I've found that she doesn't really handle oat all that well. So, you live and you learn, so yeah. That's one of my great recipes that I always come back to. Another thing that I make all the time, or at least I have it going all the time, is vanilla extract. Now, I use a lot of vanilla. And when making vanilla extract, you can make it with vodka, which is what I normally do, or you can make it with bourbon. But this is one of those things where I just have this going all the time. I get new vanilla beans in, I add extra vodka to the jar, I swap things out, but it's one of those things where homemade vanilla just has that extra better taste and everything. It's so easy to do, it just sits and it can last for a very long time. And you can also use the homemade vanilla, which is basically vodka which has been infused with vanilla, as vanilla vodka. It's one of those things where you can make this way ahead of time, makes great gifts, but I still make this, still using the same, I guess you'd call it a recipe, but it just sits there, and as I add new beans in, it just gets stronger and better, and I have it on hand all the time. So yeah, vanilla extract, one of those things I definitely still make. Oat milk was one of the things that surprised me that I would even like. I had done cashew milk, I had made almond milk, and it just is one of those things that it's so easy to make. It's just surprisingly easy to make. And that's the other thing about most of the stuff that I still make all the time. It's really easy to make, and what you're going to see in this is most of the things from here on out actually build up to the final thing that I make all the time. Well, not all the time, but I usually have it on hand. Won't go into that. But anyway, back to oat milk. Since the easiest way to make oat milk is to just let it sit overnight, that's exactly what I do. Letting it sit takes no time. I now have it down to a science as to how much of everything to add, how to get it so I can just make it really quickly in no time at all. I have oat milk after letting it sit overnight covered on my counters. Do I just drink this straight? No. No, I don't. Do I use it in recipes? Yes. Yes, I do use the oat milk in the recipes simply because I think it tastes really good, especially in my final recipe that I'm going to tell you about. But it's one of those great substitutes for milk if you can't drink cow's milk. This is a plant-based milk. Now, some people do not like it. What I like about it is it does give you the thickness or the consistency of more of a milk versus, I think, almond milk to me is too watery unless you add something to it to make it thicker, and cashew milk can just become super expensive to make because, let's face it, cashews are expensive. Getting steel cut oats, which I want to stress this, I've tried it with just using regular oatmeal, or it needs to be steel cut oats. If it's not steel cut oats, it will not come out the same. But yeah, I still make oat milk. My mocha syrup is one of my favorite things that I make. I think it's so cool simply because doing it in the bread maker just made it extra special and so much easier. And it just has this really, really strong taste of chocolate, in that if you like black chocolate, that dark chocolate, I'm really liking that. I usually have a jar of it on hand, and it will last for quite a while. That's the nice part about this is it's one of those things where you can make ahead and keep it around for quite a while. And it really is one of the things that I do like to have. You can have it on ice cream. You can use it in cooking, which I use quite often. However, because it's such a strong chocolate forward flavoring, I always remember that it is that strong chocolate forward flavoring. Some people really don't like that, some people do, but I found in my work and what I like to do with it, I do like that. Now, I have adapted the recipe every once in a while. Sometimes I add way less coffee to it, simply because I don't need that full flavored, strong coffee taste to it. I've also done it with not just regular coffee, but you can get the flavored coffees. One of my favorite to do with that is the caramel coffee. That is it just adds an extra little layer upon the chocolate syrup or the mocha syrup, and doing it in the bread maker just is, it's just so easy. That's the cool part about that, is it's just one of those really easy things where you can put it in and go. Who wouldn't love that? So let's be honest, half of these recipes, 2 out of the 4, we're leading to this final one, which I do. It is only as a treat. I don't have this all the time, but it is my peanut butter mocha smoothie. This is a great weekend treat. It just has all of the flavors that I love in it. It's using, of course, my the milk, oat milk, and then the mocha syrup, and it's just one of those cool things. And yes, do I have this in wintertime? Oh yeah, you better believe I have it in wintertime. But it's one of those things where, on hand, I always have this on the weekends, and it is one of my decadent kind of morning things to have. And I like it. I really do. But that's not to say that I don't have other things that I make all the time. Like, everybody knows I have tons of flavored vodkas. And I mean tons of flavored vodkas. And every time we have visitors down or we have some sort of special get-together, there's usually a new drink that I'm coming up with. So that happens a lot. Chocolate chip cookies. I've made the chocolate chip cookies before. And those are, of course, one of the things which I always make, because it's just one of those really neat things. Now, I also make mead. Mead is one of the things that we usually have on hand. But when it comes down to the 5 things that I always seem to be making, or they're always going, those are them. The kombucha, yes, I'm still a kombucha drinker. I think it's just great. And it's just one of those great moments where making these recipes, and why I stopped doing them so much is because I don't use them that much. Except for those 5, the recipes that I did were basically for special occasions. Or if I'm making pizza that night. Pizza sauce was also good in the pizza dough. But it's not one of those things where you're going to be doing them all the time, and that's something to remember, and why I stopped making recipes as much, because then we'd have a whole bunch of stuff sitting in the freezer, because, making a batch of cookies gives you a lot of cookies, and with just the 2 of us here, we didn't eat them all that much. But what was one of your favorite recipes that I made? I would love to know down in the comments. Or what's something that you'd like to hear me talk about that I didn't list in this? Because I didn't go into the fact that when it came to making my own laundry detergent, fabric softener, I stopped doing that. And you're asking yourself why? Well, simple, because supplies became an issue. Having the supplies to make the fabric softener and laundry detergent and those sort of things did become an issue. So it became easier to just buy it already pre-made than it was for me to make it. And I do have things like the luminaires that I did. I still make more of those each year for the holidays, because they're really cool, they light up things. I love them, it's so much fun. Well, I'd like to know what you thought about this. I'd like to also take this time to thank my patrons. These are the great people who make videos like this possible. They give me ideas, and they also get these videos 2 weeks early, which I think is sort of nice. If you're interested, check us out on Patreon, and they get a behind-the-scenes weekly vlog, which I talked about my life. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope I get to see you again the next time you stop by.